freaking wrestling, episode 40. I got it right this week. I heard I had it wrong last week. My camera went out, audio went out, but I got it right. Episode 40. I am your host, Matt, and I am joined by two pretty awesome, cool people to my left and to my right. Rhodesia and Eshaun. Tell the people how you guys are doing on this fine day.
I am doing so great. Ready to talk some wrestling.
What's going on, fella? What's going on, lady? Let's talk some wrestling.
Get into some wrestling talk. Before we get to the wrestling talk, got a couple of housekeeping notes I do want to make sure I hit. First off, if you guys have not, hit the follow button on the podcast you are listening to right now, whatever you listen to, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, we are all over the place. Hit that follow button so you don't miss any content from us if you have not done so already. Also follow us on Twitter at That's FNW, and then give us a follow on YouTube where you can see the full-length videos each and every week that we drop at That's Freaking Wrestling. Definitely want to shout out the BroKast Podcast. Follow them at the BroKast. They aired our trailer on their latest YouTube episode this week. So shout out to those guys over there. Appreciate you guys and your support. And thank you guys for listening. I don't think people get enough thanks in general in the world. So I want to make sure that we thank you guys as often as possible. Supporters of the pod, supporters of the Twitter, listeners, thank you guys for being there with us. It means a lot to us. We continue to grow each and every week from looking at the numbers. So we appreciate you guys. And thanks for coming along for the ride. Let's get right into, we had another death in the wrestling community this week on Wednesday. Rest in peace to one of the funniest people. But if we didn't get to the funny part and we got to just their work as a heel back in the 70s and 80s, Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81 this past Wednesday. I know that, Rhodesia, he was way too early for your time of watching wrestling. But for me, one of my first memories of him was one, I had his action figure when I was a kid. I had Hogan, I had Nikolai Volkov, I had Iron Sheik, and I had Hillbilly Jim. Those were the four wrestlers I had, and I had to make it work. So at one time, they were all different wrestlers. They were, Ultimate Warrior, whoever, right? But he was one of a legit shoot, real tough guys in pro wrestling. Just behind the scenes, I think he was a bodyguard for somebody important back in Iran at one point before he got into the business. Hogan owes a ton to him. If you guys don't know, Hogan beat him for the title, I think in Madison Square Garden back in the 80s. Really, catapulted Hogan's career. But just a really funny guy on Twitter. I think when his last, like every single day, he kind of gave it up. So rest in peace to Iron Sheik. Isha, I know we just talked about who just passed a couple weeks ago. We were talking, you were like, hey, you really don't remember a lot of his work. Do you remember a lot of Iron Sheik's work?
Getting started early.
Oh, he's getting started early on the mute. He's getting started early on that button.
Man, let me tell you, this Mac does not like me to press it. Like this new Mac is like, it's too sensitive. Like I'll press the button and it doesn't do what I want to do. It's ridiculous. But anyway, what I was saying is that, Superstar was a little bit before my time, but the Iron Sheik was right at the start because he helped unite, as you said, the Hulkamania. It went wild, right? After he won that title, and we just never looked back. So, and those action figures, I definitely remember those. You had to do a lot of pretending with those things because they weren't posable.
They didn't move.
They were like some awkward positions, And then I remember having it, and I had to be extra careful with them because I found out very early that the paint chipped real quick.
Yes, sir.
Right, and I had my wrestlers and my toys like in the pristine shape. So yeah, it's a little early Because that was right as I started watching. But I remember the tag team with he and Nikolai Volkov. That's more of what I remember them when they were the tag team and tag team champions. I remember those guys being on the Rock and Wrestling cartoon. Did you watch that back in the day?
Yeah. I wasn't a fan of it. And I don't know why.
No?
Like, I watched a couple of them, and like it just never really caught my attention. Like with Junkyard Dog, Tito Santana, they all were in it. But like for some reason, I would watch, and I was like, all right, this is cool, but
Well, I remember loving it. And I guess more people felt like you because I guess it was only on for like a season or something like that.
What was it called?
Rockin' and Wrestling.
Yeah,
Rock and Wrestling. Okay.
And it was all their real voices too, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was really cool back in the day because see all these wrestlers, large in life personalities in animation form. I just loved it. But that was my early memory of him as a kid, is that tag team and on that TV show. So rest in peace to Iron Sheik.
What other action figures did you have that was like that?
I remember
LJN.
my favorite.
That's what it was. LJN.
It's LJN.
Action figures. Yeah.
I bet you know what, because I had a lot of those wrestlers, and of course, like most kids, I kept mine in awesome condition. Like if you were a friend and you abused the toys, like if you were one of those Toy Story kids that that destroy toys.
Yep, right there. That's how it looked. That brings back memories.
Oh, that's actually the second version. Did you have the big guy?
Yes, I'm talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I may have had Big John. I don't think so. I think I only had those 4 because Big John Studd, too.
Mr. Wonderful. I love Mr. Wonderful.
Okay.
I wish he had knee pads for some reason. Like it used to really bother me as a kid when wrestlers didn't have knee pads on. Hulk Hogan.
No, still as an adult. You hated Cody's look.
Oh yeah.
In WWE before he had.
Oh man, Cody hurt my soul with that. I had to grit through it too, through that no knee pad time period. Who else did I have? I think I had Nikolai, Iron Sheik.
Okay.
That's about it. But I love when they switched over to the smaller toys. But of course, we didn't have Iron Sheik back then, though. Man, did
you have the ring too?
Some good times. Oh yeah, absolutely had the ring.
Yep, had the ring. I remember I tried to step in it, and I cracked it, and I didn't. Oh yeah, of course. Like I tried to get in the ring. Yep. And I cracked it, and I didn't tell anybody. And but like the chip, to your point, Hogan had red knee pads. I think after like a week, it was just like the regular color of like his skin. Like those, those came off. Good times though. Those are some really, really good times. But yes, rest in peace to Iron Sheik, 81 years old. If you don't know Iron Sheik, of course, try to do some research up on him. He was definitely a character in and out of the ring for sure. Let's start with the Bloodline. Rhodesia and Eshaun, they did it again. They did it again. Almost 3 million viewers on their last segment on SmackDown from last week. You guys have all seen it, so we don't have to run down the actual segment. I guess let's just start with thoughts in regards to where do we go from here?
So what is Jay gonna say?
Yeah, we knew after the PLE that, all right, it's hit the fan and it's basically over in regards to now people got to make their decisions on which side they're going to go on. Solo, of course, kind of did a little bit of the swoop and swat. He acted like he was going with the Usos, and then he went with Roman. And now we know that Roman's last words on SmackDown, when Heyman said, what about Jay? He said, Jay's going to do what he always does, and that's fall in line.
Yeah.
So what's your guys' thoughts on the segment, and just what does this week on SmackDown look like?
Before I answer those two questions, I was just still a little bit confused and taken back when Solo did the swoop and swat. Like that reminded me about when Jay had whispered and when Sweet Nothings into Sammy's ear and then gave him that chin shot. So to me, I'm still confused on like what happened there, because I was with Solo, like, yeah, you're standing with your brothers, and then you do that to him. I'm still stuck on that. I can't even get past that for right now. I love Paulie's address to the WWE universe and talking about what's going to happen this SmackDown, and Jay is going to acknowledge. I'm just so super excited. I really can't even put it into words. But outside of though, like I said, I was really kind of thrown off. I don't know if that is great booking and storytelling about Solo switching sides like that, or if it's just me not following along the way maybe I should be following along with it. I was a little bit kind of confused there, but still so excited. They surprise me every time.
When you say you were confused, are you confused because you think that shouldn't have happened, or you're confused of how it happened? What?
I don't know what I was supposed to take out of that. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know how am I supposed to feel after that. There was like almost no point for Solo to go stand over there by his brother, only to turn around and hurt his brother. So to me, just conceptually in my head, I don't understand that. If you get what I'm saying.
I took it as he loves his brother, but he still has his loyalty to Roman. That is his loyalty. Even when they were in NXT, I think his beginning promos had nothing to do with like the Usos. So I don't think his loyalty is to the Usos. I think when I saw that, I took it as, okay, like he's got love for his family, but at the end of the day, Roman is who he is there for.
Then why stand over there to begin with? Again, I might be looking into it too. I might be looking into it too deep. Too like, okay, maybe because he pulled on my heartstrings. And maybe they got me. Maybe I'm that mark, that definition of a mark there. But it just to me, I'm like, why do that if you're only gonna still side with with Roman Reigns?
I think it's I think I'm just using my imagination, but I think that Solo is a complicated character, right? I think he's a complicated character. He's kind of, I don't even say he's conflicted. I think he's the wild card would be a better description. We just don't know whose side he's on and what his actual allegiance are, right? Because if you look at his interactions with the Usos, his interaction with Jay, his body language with Roman, it seems like he's like a live wire and like he's ready to reach out at anybody. So, and we haven't heard a lot from him. So we don't really know what his motivations are, why he's there, why he does the things that he does. He's a wild card at this point, which is nice because I think that the less we know about him allows us to focus on other things. And then when time comes, we can really focus in on Solo and what he is and what he's about. So I think maybe in the moment, I think he might have been, true. Like, hey, these are my brothers, right? But after, taking that side and, kind of weighing in on them, he decided to make that move. Like, hey, these are my brothers, but look, I have my motivations for the things I want to do and what I want to accomplish. So
then do we think that maybe he's doing this to now become the tribal chief?
I mean, hey.
Is this kind of some seeds that they're trying to plant right now? That the only reason why he kind of turned against his brothers was because he wanted to be next in line to, I guess, infiltrate Roman Reigns?
I don't think so. I just think that his allegiance is to Roman.
Okay.
I think
so
he's
I
like
still
a hired
love you
gun.
as a brother.
Yeah, but
this is, yep.
Here is the guy. I'll tell you what kind of threw me off a little bit. You guys tell me what your guys' thoughts on, and maybe I'm in the minority. This was the first time that I thought there was a little bit of overacting, or maybe, Rhodesia, you kind of said you didn't get the Solo part. Maybe I just don't get this part. And that was Jay's reactions. They just seemed so over the top to me.
Jay seemed over the top, yeah.
And what I don't understand is like, why? Like, if we wanted to go really, really deep, I guess we can look at it from a psychological perspective of if you're in an abusive relationship,
right,
you want to protect your abuser. Okay, so I don't know if they're going that far though. If that's the story they're telling, but he seemed to be like overly torn. And it's like, why are you so torn if your brother, to what he said, I did something you should have done a long time ago. We know how Roman treats Jay, treats him like dog shit. We know that he doesn't respect Jay. Jay should know that. So,
I mean, everybody has told Jay.
Yeah.
KO said something. Sammy said.
Why are you so like just over the top emotional about it? That was the only part that I kind of didn't understand. Maybe there's gonna be a payoff, but did you guys get that too, or no?
I would agree with that. Yeah, but I think Jay has kind of been like that. Even just over the last few weeks, I thought that maybe he's a little bit too torn Like, it shouldn't be this bad of a decision. Like, once your brother had said a couple weeks ago that this is it, like, once he stood up to the big dog or the tribal chief, I call him big dog.
Wow, you went, whoa. Where'd you pull that one from?
2+ years ago.
Damn, you said the big dog.
The big dog, Roman Reigns. But, like, I don't know. I just always thought that he was a little bit just too much. Again, this is my twin. They talk about twins and their bonds that they have, and they can feel each other emotions from across the world, So for them, to me, it shouldn't be that much. And it almost seems like he's torn to empathize, like you said, with his abuser more with Roman than it is like, oh my God, I need to really be with Jimmy. He's my twin. That's a little off for me. But again, overall, I'm still so excited. I am still surprised every time I see him on the screen. I'm impressed every time.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I know that you guys were like high level management, so you guys don't deal with people like I do, or you just don't live in Atlanta like I do. These people I deal with, these are emotional, over the top. You should have seen this woman come in my store the other day, y'all. I looked around for cameras. I'm like, this chick. I looked around. I'm like, legit. I looked around for cameras. She actually started talking, and when she started, this woman started crying. I had no idea what was going on. She threw her sunglasses. I actually stepped away from her, and I looked behind her, and I'm looking. Like, right, because it's hot Atlanta, right? So I'm like, because I work now in like a richy area in Atlanta. So I'm like, maybe this is like a show, because this is ridiculous, right? And these people are ridiculous. These people are out of their minds nowadays, y'all. Let me tell you. So when I'm watching Jay, we don't know what he's feeling, what he's going through, what he's been, because we don't know the full story. We don't fully know and understand. Now, we do know that he does have if you want to think about allegiance, and like there's like a number order, obviously his brother is his number one, because he's on that side, right? But obviously he's still torn about the dynamic. So we don't know what this bloodline means to the entire family, to the actual tribe, the connection that he has to play, Obviously he's been the right-hand man, right? So he's kind of unofficially like the glue of the whole thing, right? And he's trying to hold this together. Why is he trying to hold it together? What's the importance of all of it? We just don't know, right? We just don't know, because it hasn't been explained yet. But it's cool to think about it, right? So yeah, he's obviously sided on his brother, right? But he's still in the back of his mind, it's like his heart of hearts, he wants all of this to work, but he knows that it only really can work a certain way. Right. So I think he's also conflicted. I think it's great storytelling. Like, look, this is a wrestler. I don't know if he's not Ashton Kutcher, right, as far as acting. So he may be a little bit of overacting, but maybe not. Maybe if he felt like in the moment, if he's actually trying to put himself in this character, maybe that's how he thinks he will react in that moment, right? He will be very torn and kind of over the top a little bit.
Well, but that's my point, though. I don't think he was overreacting. I think he's reacting for a reason like that. They haven't overreacted in like 2 years. So because what he kept saying to Jimmy and Roman was, I need you and I need you. My only question is, why do you need Roman? I don't know why you need Roman. Do you think you're going to lose some spot? Like, you don't need Roman. You have Jimmy. You have your brother. You guys have always been the ones. You guys are tag team champions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the part that's going to be interesting to see. Maybe we get that answer this week on SmackDown. Maybe, of course, that happens sometime this summer. But why is he so connected to feeling like he needs Roman, the guy that wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire? You know what I mean? Who's dogged him out since WrestleMania.
Because he's the tribal chief.
Right?
Didn't the elders send these people to do what he needs done? Not he.
Yeah, but his own daddy hadn't even acknowledged Roman. Rikishi didn't even acknowledge him yet. So
Rikishi got his own storyline. He's trying to get.
I told you, Rikishi didn't I tell you Rikishi's going to business for himself? They haven't even made a inkling on TV talking to Rikishi. Every day, Rikishi in his own storyline on Twitter.
Real, man.
I think he playing with action figures. That's insane. Another really big. You guys got anything else on the Bloodline from SmackDown, or what you want to see this week?
I want to see Jay go with the side of his brother. ... Jimmy, that brother.
I just just watching it, it's definitely working. Because I always kind of gauge like like how big something is based on if my wife Katrina likes it or not.
Mhm.
She don't like wrestling. Let's just say what it is. Like, she makes me mad that she makes me pay for her to come to these shows. That she don't. That she when I turn it on, she's walking in the other room. She's out of there, right? But anytime the Bloodline stuff's on, she sits down and she watches. She watches intently, so it really grabs her, and that's what I love about wrestling when they get it right. It grabs the non-wrestling fan, right? And we're seeing these ratings. I'm just hoping they can connect and grab more of these types of stories that can connect more people to the show so it can keep growing. And it's all about storylines and characters, and they're doing such a phenomenal job. It's just sadly, you got to think about it. When's it going to end? It has to end at some point. And it looks like we're kind of getting down to that point, but maybe not. Like I said, we still got a lot of character situations that fleshed out, right?
Roman said after Mania, if this is a 9-inning baseball game, we are at the bottom third. So, we still got a long time left to go with this.
But I'm feeling, though, that we're about to wrap soon. And the only reason why I say that is because of that introduction of the new title, the new championship belt. I think that is the way of like the two belts being Roman. I feel like he's about to, this is my first time, and I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud. I think his reign is about to end, like soon.
When you say soon, what are you talking? Like
I'm
this
talking
year
about
soon?
Yeah, this year before the end of 2023.
Oh, I was thinking he had to defend it first because he ain't.
You say you gotta defend it.
Yeah, I'm hoping we get a like I said, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I hope it's the tag match at Money in the Bank, and I hope we get the 4-way with all 4 of them at SummerSlam. I think that'll be incredible. Yeah. Speaking of the new belt, what's your guys' thoughts? How you guys think it looks?
I think it's fresh. I think it looks great. But for me, my preference is what for people on YouTube who's watching can see. I love the black belt. I love that original one. I like how that sets and makes the diamonds stand out more. This new one again is shinier. So I can't hate on anybody who say they like the new belt. But for my preference, I still like the old one.
Yeah, it's mid. Just like the other belt that you got back there.
Oh no, this is not mid. That's the truth right there.
I do think the Raw title looks better now than the Universal title because it's not even a new belt. It's a new color. Like it's not even
color.
Yeah, that was kind of what threw me off a little bit. They were like, it's a new belt. It's like, no, it's just a different color.
Bright ass yellow, right?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same belt. It's just now gold/yellow over black. Whatever. But whatever. That's semantics.
To signify the new. That's to signify. It's more the psychology behind it. This is a new title. This is a new belt. There's a new champion. They can't have.
I do have a problem. I do got a problem with the name.
The undisputed part.
It's disputed as hell. I don't get the name. What's going on with this thing? But yeah, I have more of a problem with the name than the actual title. The title's fine.
Well, I have. So if I wanted to say I have a problem with anything, my problem would be that. No, you can say Roman's is undisputed because he's beating everybody. That's fine. Okay, you have the undisputed belt. But if you're going to keep it as the undisputed belt,
right?
What is that belt on Raw?
Exactly.
So that's the disputed World Heavyweight Championship.
There's 2 titles. It's not. It's like in boxing, right? You got the WBC title and the ABC, and like if you got all these world championships, I mean, it's disputed.
Yeah, you're only undisputed when you've beaten everybody, and everybody can say, "Yep, you are the champ." So I get that. I don't know. Whatever. I mean,
right.
I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, like I didn't need a new belt. I get why they won a belt because now it's one opposed to having them carry around 2. So I get that part. But if we're gonna introduce a new belt, just give me something different, opposed to just a different color. But it was also smart to do the Raw belt first. I'm calling it the Raw belt because that's where it's at. But it was also really smart to release that one first, then this one. Because I think this one would be poo-pooed on way more if this was the first belt they unveiled in the second belt.
But is it? I think it's getting pretty good sales, isn't it?
It's always going to sell just because it's going to sell.
Championship belt.
I saw more negativity online about that belt than I did the World Heavyweight Championship belt that Seth has.
Yeah,
really?
The Seth title looks nice. It's nice. It's a nice mix with the champ because I get they want to show the logo, right? It's branding. You got to put that branding. So you got the branding, has a little bit of a classical look behind it, so it looks really good. But this title's fine. It's fine.
So also we got to talk about on SmackDown. We had Montez and LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me.
Montez leaned into the Bulls.
Yes.
Those
heel facials. Those heel facials
is what I've been talking about for over a year. I don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, but Rhodesia can vouch for me. I've said the money in Montez is a heel Montez. Heel Montez is going to be something unlike we've seen in WWE in a long time if they allow him to kind of go with what he knows he can do with his personality. I'll be honest, I am over what I consider the caricature of his character that he does. Like,
exactly.
It's cool. It was funny at one point. I'm over like the over the top singing every single time and the facials and like, all right, it was good to get your attention with that. But like, okay, now I'm ready to get to the meat and potatoes of who you are, what you are. And what he showed me on Friday against LA Knight when that crowd started booing him and he started leaning into it, I'm like, that is who you are. That is who he is. And then if we can put that together with Bianca with a more meaner streak, I don't know if you guys, I think you two saw it for sure. If you guys have not seen it, go Google. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It was a WWE.com exclusive, like 60-second promo Bianca cut after SmackDown on Friday, backstage, where she basically says, when I was a champion, I tried to do everything the right way, but it's on now.
She's done playing around.
And I'm like, that is what we want from her. Now, I mean, she's had the belt for a year on an incredible face run. But Montez, what I saw from him Friday, please give me more of that, 100%. But what'd you guys think of that?
Well, I wanted Montez to win. I was the only one on the show who wanted him to win. But
no,
I feel like
who we thought was going to win.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't want to change our narrative. Don't want to change our narratives. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I wanted him to win. And I thought he was going to win. But I'm not disappointed at all because I got to see some of those facials of him being a heel. And I'm like, yes, that feels good. It looks good and it feels good. So I'm happy. I still am crossing my fingers he's going to sneak his way into the Money in the Bank match somehow.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was good. Yeah, because I told you guys on our little draft thing that we did a couple of episodes back that I was drafting a heel Montez Ford. Mm-hmm. And I love to see him paired with like an MVP. Get him heavy and push that guy to the moon. I think that'd be great because they're just kind of treading water with the Street Profits. I don't know what they're doing with Dawkins and the team, but it's definitely time for a change. And I think he's ready. And man, LA Knight, they got something with him. I hope the plan is to pull the trigger on that guy because the crowd is super behind him, right? He's a heel, supposedly a heel, but the people want to cheer him. They want to get behind him. I think between the two of them, it definitely in that match, it seemed like it's LA Knight's time, but I hope they can flip that into a Montez moment as well. So I'm hoping they do right for my boy because he definitely has the look, he has the personality, and I think he has it all. Like I'm hoping they give him something good over in SmackDown.
So then with LA Knight,
yeah,
we love him. I guess my question is, how over is he really? Do we know yet? And the reason why I'm asking that is he hasn't had a feud since January, and that was with Bray Wyatt. And he did the heavy lifting. We know that, but Bray was absolutely the more popular person during that feud back in January. We are in June now, and he has not had a feud. So yes, we love his promos. We like when he's in the ring, which we don't get often, which we know you don't have to work often wrestling wise. You can get over with your mouth. But is he really over? Or is the fan base just clamoring for him to see more from him? So I think those are two totally different things.
See, I think he was over Mania time. I don't think he's over now. I think that you still have your, like you said, the fans clamoring, but what will that actually transition to? Would that actually pay-per-view vibes? I'm not putting him as a main event at all, but I'm just saying, what would that really translate to? And I don't think much now when he had it originally at Mania time. And that's the reason why I didn't think that he was going to win either at SmackDown.
You know, like for me, I always think like he gets a reaction, and people are, you know, they're doing, they're reacting to him, and that's what you want. Like that's what you got to gauge, like reactions on or in emotions is like, because how many wrestlers are there that are getting reactions, right? Really reactions. Like he's one of them, and they haven't done anything with them. So imagine when they actually give him something, right? They actually put some steam behind them, because like that's how you build wrestlers. That's how wrestlers kind of get over, is when the crowd organically starts getting behind somebody, right? And then you put them in meaningful things to do, so you can give the fans more of what they want. Because there's a lot of wrestlers that they try to put on that they don't get on, right? There's a lot of wrestlers that they give things to do that people aren't getting behind, right? So like the little things that he's doing or has done, because we've said it, you know, like in the Wyatt feud, you know, LA Knight was the one that was kind of standing out. I think he kind of carried a good portion of that feud himself. So just
90% of it
got behind him and actually gave him something meaningful to do. Now it's not going to be if you're going to, you know, hope for like great 5-star matches. I don't think that's what LA Knight's going to give you, but I think he's going to give you a fine match. He's going to give you some great character moments. He's going to give you something to cheer for. You know, he's going to give you something to listen to. I think time's now to pull the trigger on the guy, because I think he's a little bit older too. So let's put the ball in his court and let him run.
Even if he does not win Money in the Bank, which I'm not married to that, then get him and Austin Theory for the U.S. title and put it on LA Knight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Give me that, because I think Theory is he's also stagnant now.
Yeah.
That Cena victory didn't do anything for him. And that's really interesting, because he was on his way, I thought, before Mania. They got the briefcase off of him. I thought they did an awesome job of rehabbing his character. And then Mania came and it just stopped. And that was 2 months ago.
Who has he been across? That's the problem.
That's what I'm right. Yeah, he hasn't done anything meaningful either. I mean, has he even had a feud? Like a legit feud? He hasn't had one. Like, he's wrestled Sheamus on SmackDown, but he hasn't had anything that carried him through a pay-per-view, right? Was he on Backlash?
I don't remember.
I can't even remember if he was on Backlash. Mm-mm. Okay, so he wasn't on Backlash. Was he on Night of Champions? Yeah, it was a fatal 4-way, right? Wasn't it him, Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed? Mm-hmm. But he's kind of like an afterthought right now.
Yeah. So, you know, when
he hasn't been across from anybody.
The only thing I can keep thinking in my head, and I'm not as quick-witted as you are to get a cool little punchline here, but that makes me just think back about how much John Cena still hates him for some reason. So I wonder if Cena must be burying him behind the scenes.
Hates that man.
Cena's like, nope, he can't get a match for the next 6 months because what he said to me after he won.
Bring back John.
What else? I think that was really it for me from SmackDown. I don't think there was anything else that was like huge.
Nope.
That's all I had too.
So then let's transition to Monday Night Raw. Who was backstage? He was back.
Oh gosh.
And the show was really good.
Don't air horn him, man. I don't want to see his ass back there no more.
The show was really good, man. No. The show was really, really good. And I was with them saying that
he made some
changes.
There
was a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess at this point, it all can't be bad for something that Vince did and all good if something Triple H did. Now we know for a fact there was a really good Raw show. Vince McMahon had his fingerprints on it. Who knows what exactly he changed? I don't know what, but it was a really good show. I thought the MVP of the night was Seth Rollins. I thought that that was a really good showing from him on Monday, which he needed with that belt. I thought it was a great opening promo with Judgment Day. I thought it was a great match that him and Damian had to main event the show. I think that title has already kind of showed itself that when you have something to wrestle for, it makes the show more important. And I think we felt that on Monday. What'd you guys think?
I can see why you gave Seth MVP, but I really like Damian showing that match. I really did. Like, again, in my mind, I think of this big guy that probably can't wrestle as technical as like somebody like a Seth. And he proves me wrong a lot of times when I watch him wrestle. He really can go in the ring. But when you mentioned Vince being there and making changes, my takeaways from Raw that I really liked, I don't think he could have had changed it anyways. Because for me, it was more of like a couple of the match qualities. And we know Vince isn't actually in the ring wrestling, and some of those video packages. So unless he just cut the video packages, the things I liked about Raw this week, I don't think he had anything. He could not have affected it, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, dirty, nasty ass Vince. He hates factions. He breaks everybody up. And here we got beef with Finn and Damian. Right? We had a great thing going with Judgment Day. Great heel faction. And his ass comes back, and now he's already trying to break him up. That's what I thought about Vince. I'm like, oh, he's coming. Here comes Vince. He took off his belt, pulled down his pants, and he's crapping all over the show again. That's what I thought about it.
I actually have the complete opposite thought, and it may be including my TFW moment of the week. So I'll leave it there for that. So Heyman, did you guys hear Heyman's interview he did where he talked about it was Vince's idea to pair him with Roman?
No. Tell me more.
Yeah, so this came out a couple days ago, and he said a lot in the interview, but this part was pretty interesting. So this is back in 2020, right? Because when was COVID?
2020.
Okay. So he said that at this point, Roman is kind of over his character and over his creative. He said the straw that broke the camel's back for Roman was the dog food stuff with Corbin and the Usos that he had to do.
I can't believe
he's kind of over it. Yeah, he's kind of over his creative, right? So Heyman said, okay, now COVID hits. That takes Saudi away, which in essence takes Brock Lesnar away, because Brock charges, of course, a pretty penny. You're not going to have Brock showing up to the PC in front of no wrestlers. That doesn't make good business sense. We get that. So not Heyman, but Brock's gone. And he said now he's at home, basically. He was, I think, still like the VP or the general director of Raw. This is when they were doing that. And he gets a call from Vince. And Vince's like, hey, I think it's time for you to get back on TV. He said he immediately thought announcer. And he's thinking like, how can I be a disruptor again in that space? What can I do to bring something different? And Vince says, I want you as an on-air character. I want you back to managing. And Heyman said there was always 3 people that he wanted to be paired with and nobody else. One was Brock, of course. One was Ronda Rousey. The other one was Roman Reigns. He said anybody else, he felt like it would be too much pressure on them to succeed because of what the work he's done with Brock, or it wouldn't make sense. So when he hears that, he's like, okay, well, Brock's not going to be around. Like, who do you have in mind? So he's thinking already in his mind. He's like, I'm trying to think of a way to tell Vince this isn't going to work before he even tells me who it is. And he says, Vince goes, I think it's time for you to be paired with Roman Reigns. And of course, Heyman's just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, we're actually about to pull the trigger. We've never pulled the trigger on a heel Cena, and we're actually about to do it with Roman. So Heyman kind of just talked about how it was like a perfect storm. You know, Roman's off TV because of COVID, and with his condition, we don't know how bad that's going to, deal with his system. So he's away. So he said, like, when I come back, there's no way I'm going to be the same person. So it was kind of like perfect timing for Vince to want to put Heyman and Roman together. We see the magic they've made ever since. It was just cool to hear that story because, yeah, we knew Vince had to have signed off on it. Mm-hmm. But to hear that it was his idea, it's like, that was a good idea.
Years ago, I don't know if it was Talk is Jericho, maybe it was Taz's show back then. But remember when this is like probably 4, 5, 6 years ago, probably about 5 years ago, when Paul Heyman was on that podcast, whatever one it was, and he was saying how much he would want Roman. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he's like, that's just the one I cannot wait. I wish I can get him. And if I can and when I can, it's going to be magical. And sure enough, it is. And it has been.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was I saw the interview. It was a pretty good interview.
It was. It really was. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was really, really cool. What else you guys got from Raw? Anything?
Those video packages. We saw Johnny Gargano this week. Before that, several weeks ago, we saw Candice LeRae. Last week, we saw Kaden and Katana. We called her Cassie. Lord have mercy. Katana and Kaden. And holy hell, that match. Yo. Round of applause for them.
We'll give them that. Absolutely.
They freaking did it. I mean, I was so impressed. I'm like, oh my God, they about to bury the only real tag team that we have here. And what did they do? They showed out. So bravo to them. But those video packages, again, this is like a reset. I don't want to call it a repackage, but it's a reset of some of these characters. I really like how well it's put together. Like I was like, if I wasn't a Gargano fan or didn't know about him before NXT, I probably would have been like, whoa, okay. Maybe I got a wrong impression with this guy, with him being with Dexter, initially coming to WWE. Let me kind of get behind him and see what this is about.
I think they need to figure out which way they're going with Johnny. I was not high on his last main roster run. No. He showed out during Elimination Chamber. Great. Mm-hmm. We know he can go in the rings. Not against him, of course. It's the creative. Give me NXT Johnny. And that promo package is a lot more NXT Johnny than what we had before. But to your point, you got to be careful of that because the start and stop, character changes, the gimmick changes, the repackaging, they can do a lot more harm than it can good. So we'll see when he gets back the way they go with it. But no, I enjoy that. And I thought that tag match. I'm still in the old school. I call it old school because this is what I was brought up on. The old school thought mentality of you don't debut someone unless they're going to win.
Yeah,
that is where I'm from. So exactly. when they had the awesome promo package for them, and then we see them engage with Ronda and Shayna backstage, and they're like, "Let's have a match tonight." Of course, I'm like, "No, they're not."
Why would you bury them? Yeah,
bury them night once. We know they're not winning the titles, but it was really good. As the old saying goes, Ronda and Shayna went over, but the girls got over. So I think that anybody who did not know who they were, which is probably a lot if we look at the NXT numbers compared to main roster, I think they walked away like, oh, wow, those girls are pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
So it worked.
Yep. And the only other thing I have for Raw was just the couple of spots in the KO Gunther match. They were stiff. Strong style. I don't know what word you want to call it, but they were pretty stiff. They were there. Some of those kicks and hits was there. And I was there for it too. All there for it. That's it. That's all I got. But no. So this is what I wanted to ask y'all. I thought about this and luckily it came back in my head. Do you feel that KO is starting to get a little too whiny? Like, I know he wants to fight everybody right away, but it's almost like a whiny sound of
somebody said that. Somebody said that on social media. I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was something to the effect of he's complaining too much.
Yeah, I don't want to call it complaining, but it's just, oh, you want to fight? You want to fight? Like, chill, dude. Like, calm down. Like, to me, I don't like this KO.
Oh, that's interesting because I think this is what KO should be. He's worn shirts to say just fight, never stop fighting.
Okay,
he's over the talk. Like I'm over all the back and forth. He's like either we're going to fight or we're not going to fight.
But his voice is almost like a higher octave though. He's almost whiny. So again, I like that pit bull aggression. Let's go at it. But it's almost like
yeah, wow. They're trying to make him like manic. To give him like this little manic.
There we go. Yeah.
Like almost crazy type of thing he's trying to do. It's all right. I get what you're saying. I'm not a super fan of it. They're trying to make him quirky. Hey, but why not, right? Let him kind of play off Sammy.
But see, Sammy's the calmer one, and I've never pictured Sammy.
He is now, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, Sammy was the off the wall one before.
He's the calm one, and now KO's the crazy, like manic pit bull, right? Kind of fits a little bit. But I was listening to when Cody came out, and like the crowd's like literally singing this song, and like I don't know any of the words from this song. Like, but AEW had this guy, the second hottest wrestler in all of the world, right? And now he's in WWE in front of a larger audience, and he has arenas singing his entire song. And honestly, I don't think the song's that good, right? It's fine, right? But I do remember when Snoop Dogg tried to remake it. I'm like, okay, maybe he might, put a little something to it. And I feel like, oh, you made it worse. Snoop, you made the song worse.
He did.
Like, right?
Big time.
So, like, you got this audience singing like this, to me. I mean, maybe it's the greatest song in the world. I don't know. But, they got these guys singing this song. And I'm just like, man, this guy is just so super over. And he's somebody that just came off of AEW TV. And that audience started booing him towards the end of his run. And much hasn't changed about his character and who he is. Like, right? But I think it's just competition and production, right?
I think that's a big part of doing, man. I think you guys know I say it damn near every week. It seems like it is about presentation and storytelling. And I think that there were some valid misses in Cody's run in AEW. It was some valid misses. I think even he agreed, and I saw something with him a couple months ago where he talked about one of his biggest regrets or mistakes in AEW was fighting against turning heel or not accepting that he was a heel. It was something about, I think he may even said I was a heel, but I didn't turn into it. It's just a different game, man. Like it is just two totally different worlds between AEW and WWE in regards to what the on-screen product is. And I'm glad, I'm happy with that. I'm happy that AEW is not WWE like, right? Because at this point, nobody can touch WWE and what WWE does. Cool.
100%.
Great. I got something I'll bring up around AEW that kind of got me a little bit, good and bad, positive and opportunity. But I just think it's a different world, man. Like, actually, this is a perfect segue. And I had something else I wanted to bring up, but this is a perfect segue. Friend of the show, Chris Bush, follow him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is @CBearSmash. He sent us a question a few days ago, and he said a lot of shock back when WWE was cutting big names. Many of those names have been brought back or transitioned to AEW. I would say at this point, those cuts have had no effect on the business. Who are the stars among them now? So my question to you two. So he's talking about the cuts back in 2021, 2022?
21.
I believe it. Yeah.
2021.
Yeah. So two-part question. Once again, great question. Appreciate it, Chris. One, did those cuts affect business? And two, who out of the folks that were part of those huge cuts would you say are bigger stars now than when they were cut?
I interpreted that second part of that question a little bit differently. The first part of it, though, is what was the first part of it again? I don't want to mess up here.
Did those cuts affect business?
No, not really. No effect. No effect at all, I don't think. As far as who's bigger today than what they would have been then, I mean, looking at this list, I probably would say really no one. How I interpreted the second part of that question more was of who is a star today. And I kind of had really, truly the only person I would have called a star today, but he's injured, would have been Bray Wyatt. I had a few numbers of people who, if they had the right little push or nudge, that they can make it to star power. And I'll just say that real quick because I came up with it. Karrion Kross to Scarlett, Keith Lee, Bronson Reed. I think he's getting there. Dakota. And just because she had a championship match, I'm going to go with Taya Valkyrie. But those are some of the people that I think could maybe be a star with the right kind of push. But people like Malachi, Jay White, you can argue that they already are a star, or that they're not. But as far as how you pose that second question, I don't think anybody is really bigger today than they were back in 2021.
Yeah, I got something out of that last part too. But as far as bigger star, well, you're gonna say nobody because I think what they did, they cut to me. I think they cut a lot of valuable role players or utility guys from a show that, and this is when Vince was running the show. Though outside, well, I don't think we've had the Bloodline thing going on. Those shows were very, very stale. It was a lot of the same matches over and over again.
Horrible
same,
TV.
Same
Horrible
people
TV.
Wrestling. It's a bunch of rematches after rematch after rematch. So those were fresh faces that they could have freshened up those shows, right? But creatively, we knew they didn't have the creative people in place to kind of utilize that talent. There's a lot of valuable people that they kind of cut. The biggest guy, I got a list here. It's Big Daddy Top list. I got it bowled out here, right here. Bray Wyatt, right? Like that was a very big shock. I thought there was a lot of mileage still left in that Fiend character. Swerve, big Swerve guy. Told you he's like one of my favorite wrestlers. Malachi Black or Aleister Black at the time, right? They just were giving him vignettes. They were doing something with him. It could have been interesting. They cut him. Rusev was another guy, that was very popular. They got rid of him. Andrade, now that's one person on my list I'm very high on, but of course the company wasn't. I think there was a lot of mileage that they didn't get out of the Selena and Andrade connection. But if you want to think about the cuts, I think it worked out in AEW's favor, right? Because Malachi Black, Andrade, Rusev, Swerve, Keith Lee, and some others went and kind of infused some big names to those shows, right? Mm-hmm. So it really worked out for AEW. Now, those same guys could have stayed on Vince's poop list, right? We would have had, just like Gunther, right? I don't know if he sneezed or he coughed by Vince or whatever, and he's about to get fired, right? Or you got LA Knight, who they made him, a maximum model. So definitely those guys leaving and going over to AEW really interjected something into their show. But I think that you look at it, WWE kind of, came back, especially when Triple H got the helm and brought some of those people back, like Bronson Reed, Chelsea Green. He tried to get some of those, big names back to his show, but it didn't work out for him. Another surprising cut that I didn't expect, but I guess it makes sense because Vince is a horrible talent evaluator, was the Iconics. Like, right, there was so much mileage, I thought, in them as a team. He actually ended up breaking them up. So if you really look at the people he cut, Vince wasn't going to do anything with any of them anyway. Really, right? He wasn't going to do anything with them, but it was AEW's gain. And I think those characters became bigger stars on their show, right? Because now Swerve is a big name. Malachi Black is doing his thing. I don't know if he would have got a fair shot on Vince's watch.
Well, now that you say that, again, the second part of that question, the way you interpret it, Matt, you're right. You look at Malachi, he was cutting promos outside of the closet or inside the closet, the janitor closet on WWE. So from there, he's already doing better than what he was in WWE.
Yeah, actually, I had him on my list, and I said Aleister Black on main roster WWE, not Aleister Black in NXT.
Right.
NXT
right.
Aleister Black was better than what we're seeing now, in my opinion. In regards to star, first question was, did it affect business? I don't think it affected WWE in the slightest. And the problem, though, is WWE is doing incredible business right now. So some of this is possibly revisionist history. Like if Chris would have asked me this question a year ago, my answer may be different. If he asked me this question 18 months ago, my answer may be different because I think it may have hurt business because AEW was hotter. Okay. AEW is not as hot right now, and that's strictly due to their booking. It has nothing to do with the talent. Nothing to do with talent. So did the cuts affect business? It did for AEW because they were able to get them, like E said. It did not for WWE at this point because they bounced back from it. If you guys remember, about 2 years ago, 18 months ago, AEW was outdrawing a lot of the major markets in ticket sales from what WWE was doing. Chicago, even New York with the Grand Slam. There was a lot of markets that they were outdrawing WWE. Of course, it's flipped now. That's not the case because the booking has been better over the last year. They've reestablished a lot of these talents. So that's number one. Number two, and I do want to shout out to Eric. He's at Mr. Mom 76, also a friend of the show. His response was, I would say Malachi Black, Buddy Edwards, Andrade, and Ruby Soho have done much better for themselves in AEW. As for the ones that came back to WWE, I would say Karrion Kross, Dakota Kai, and Bronson Reed. My response for WWE is Dakota Kai is a bigger star than she was then. Mia Yim's a bigger star than she was then. And Scarlett's a bigger star than she was then. I don't think anybody else is bigger than what they were when they were cut. Outside of WWE, I had Buddy down, but then I thought, I'm like, well, no, Buddy was actually with Seth Rollins, if you remember that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about a star, he was probably a bigger star then. I'm only going by the word when we look at star. I think one you can absolutely not question is Swerve, for sure. He's much bigger now than he was in WWE. And then the other one is, Rhodesia, you mentioned Aleister Black. I think other than that, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Even if they're being utilized better right now than they were, if we're looking at stars, I think that's it. So
yeah.
I said that was a perfect segue, E, because we were in the middle of kind of talking about the WWE machine in regards to storytelling. You were talking about Cody from AEW to WWE, and it's like with WWE, they are such a machine when they have the proper creative behind them that you're going to be bigger in WWE. That's the way it is. Now, if you either don't want to go to WWE or you don't want to fit in their system that they have there, cool. And that's why I love that we have AEW, which is a fantastic alternative. But no matter what AEW would have done, we would not be seeing this Cody Rhodes in AEW. Not even close. And I just think that's just the way it is right now with how both companies are set up.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Like, Cody's always seemed like a WWE guy on the TV, right? Even on the indies, he's always seemed like a WWE guy. So he's back where he belongs. But like I said, things happen the way it happened. Because I think for a lot of those talent like Swerve, I don't think he would have gotten the chance to be what he is in AEW on WWE TV. I don't think they would have gotten his character or got behind him.
Hell, he wouldn't be able to bring Rick Ross. Like, those connections that he's done, the things he's done outside of wrestling to bring more eyes to AEW and what he's doing, absolutely would not have been a thing in WWE.
But I got on that list though of disappointments though, I gotta say one of them is Keith Lee, man. He's just having a disappointing run on both shows to me right now.
It's interesting because is there something more to it? Is it that he's just not being utilized so we don't see him? Is it because we all know he's talented? We all know he's talented as hell, and we know that typically the cream rises to the top.
I want to say this. I love Keith Lee in NXT. I was never a fan of him in the WWE main roster.
Oh, he wasn't a fan of himself on main roster.
Yeah.
Bearcat, and he was another one that Vince didn't know what to do with him.
And right now, I'm not really a fan of his. I'm ready at the drop of a dime to get behind him. But no. But my last time that I had fandom for him was in NXT.
He's another one that if these two shows are done right, we could see him have a revamp and
that's why I said he could be a star. He could absolutely be a star. He needs just that right little nudge, that right little push. And again, it could just be, especially now in AEW, who he has as competitors. Who can even really
I remember when he
style.
first got signed, and we were like, if Keith ain't a world champion in 12 months, fire everybody because something was wrong.
Yep.
And that hasn't materialized. But when him and Swerve had the tag titles, they were hot. Hot TV, fantastic matches. It just seems so long ago. That was less than a year ago.
But the thing
Less
about
than a year ago.
Keith was really playing off Swerve, and I would like you hear about we're gonna get to AEW in a second, but they have a new creative team over at Collision, right? And one thing that WWE has, right, they have a whole booking creative thing, right? They have certain writers assigned to certain wrestlers, and et cetera. They can kind of bounce ideas off of. I don't know if AEW needs that, because I think that maybe like a Keith Lee might need that, because a lot of you hear a lot of these wrestlers, like they don't come up with ideas, for Tony, they kind of get by the wayside. So you look at, Keith's idea for himself was to come out in a Harry Potter robe.
Man,
right?
you hate his wardrobe, dude.
Yeah, right? It just ain't hidden, right? So like I think if he had the right creative behind him, and sometimes you can't leave it to guys to write and come up with their own, creative. Sometimes they need to be in an environment where, okay, I have an idea, let's bounce it off each other and let's make it better, right? Or let's make it a little bit different. Or let's try this. So maybe we can try that. If you leave it up to a guy, he's gonna come out in a wizard's robe, right? So I don't know.
You hate with a capital H, my man.
I don't use hate very often, but I think I do hate.
You do
that robe, and also Swerve's helmet.
That bothers you, and it's not a helmet, dude. It's a hat.
It's not a helmet.
It's a Scully. Real quick before we move on to AEW, this just came out. WWE CEO Nick Khan, he said that we think NXT has the viability to be its own standalone brand. Dude, what the fuck?
What the hell?
That was that before AEW.
That's what we've all been saying.
That's all we've been saying. I'll get a little bit more context. He said initially NXT was on WWE Network, and when the pandemic hit, USA, NBC Universal needed content. We did not miss a week of production, so we went with Tuesday nights on USA from 8 to 10. NXT ratings were also trending up, so that is going in the right direction. Then he says, we think NXT has the viability to be its own. Oh, so we just skipped years. Got it. We think NXT has the viability to be its own standalone brand instead of being a developmental system, a third brand, if you will, where you can see crossover from our superstars on Raw and SmackDown to NXT while our young talent develops there. Once we get all of that situated, then we will look at other nights of the week to develop new content as well. A lot of gibberish in there. We just skipped over the part where AEW was kicking their ass for like a year straight. Cool, I get it. I know why you didn't bring that up.
They had to move nights, and that's why they had to move nights.
I get it. Once again, this guy's good. But the reason why I bring that up is because Bron Breakker challenged Seth Rollins this week to a match, which I thought was great. We've seen a few of the main star roster folks come down to NXT for some programs. I think it's good stuff.
So wait.
Thoughts? Yeah.
So Bron didn't get drafted to Raw. How do you feel about that? I can't even get it out.
Yeah, you are feeling that. You all right? You need to take a break?
I said, no.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and pass.
Ready.
Get it together. We got it. That's why it's three of us. Whenever somebody ain't got it, we just pass it on. Eshaun, save her. I don't know what she was trying to say, but Bron versus Seth, and then Nick Khan's comments. Are you? Does that make you want to watch NXT more, knowing that hey, you may get matches like Bron versus Seth? We saw Corbin down there this week. We've seen Natty there before. Dolph Ziggler's been there before. Ali's been there. Does that make you want to watch NXT more?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've been telling you that NXT has been a bright spot in my wrestling week. I really enjoyed the show when I actually get to watch it. I like the idea because it's, that was Triple H had been trying to get NXT to be the third brand forever, right? But
and it was
the company,
and it was,
but not by the company, right? Vince didn't see it as a third brand, right. And internally, you listen to the wrestlers always talk like, "Hey, when I get called up, when I go up, when I get to the main show, So internally, they didn't view it as a third brand. I mean, that's partly why the show, I think, it got spanked so heavily by AEW, right? Because you got a hot new show coming on and you're putting your developmental show against them. I don't care what Triple H was saying publicly, but internally, if you're treating like a developmental, there's no way that was going to win. But, I mean, I like the idea of them we've been talking about it for years. I think you and I have been saying, it's in private and via text, like, hey, it'd be a good idea to send guys they don't have anything for on the main roster. Send them down to NXT for a little while. Let them, rejuvenate. Let them, maybe create a new character. Like Jim Ross used to say back in the day, learn a new hold or whatever it is.
Right.
Kind of freshen themselves with that show. And then you can continue to develop like a Bron Breakker, by having them wrestle one of the best or, arguably the best in the world in Seth Rollins. So I'm all for it. It's just that, this is another conversation. It's just too much dang old wrestling on TV. I like, I'm trying to watch this show as much as I can, but man, after watching, 12 hours of Raw and SmackDown each week, it's going to be kind of hard to consistently watch another 2 hours of another official third brand.
Speaking of, don't forget, as soon as this pod is over, you got to watch Ring of Honor.
No, I don't. I think my subscription finally canceled.
Rhodesia, are you back with us?
I'm gonna try. So I didn't see Bron challenging Seth. What I was hung up on was I'm thinking Bron was going to come to Raw to challenge Seth. So I said Bron was not drafted to Raw. How does that make you feel?
You are feeling it still. I don't even understand.
I said, you can't hear me. I said, how does it make you feel?
We hear you.
Right.
We hear you.
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, but we've talked about Bron not being drafted to Raw, and this is tickling you more than anything in the world. I'm glad you're getting a great laugh.
No, it's just because I can't tell with the draft.
Hey guys, sometime in life you gotta get laugh. I don't know what we laughing about, but it's good to laugh. Yeah, smile.
You know what we're gonna do?
Yeah,
we are gonna move
sometimes, y'all.
We are gonna
move
new.
Right.
Y'all acting brand new.
Let's move on to AEW and Forbidden Door. So we have two matches that are official. Both of them went official, I think, Sunday. Boy, oh boy. Rematch from a top 3 match of the year right now. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match. And Bryan Danielson versus Okada. As much as I thought Forbidden Door was good last year, we were in attendance for it. It had that special feeling just because that was only the second New Japan show we've ever been to. First was New Japan and Ring of Honor in Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania weekend a few years ago. So being able to see like Okada in person, like it was a lot of that. But in terms of the card, we know they had a ton of injuries. It really wasn't. I mean, it was still a great show, but the card was like, all right, it was cool. This, if not another match,
I'm fine with it.
Man, there it is.
And not
These
the
two matches
match either
are killer. Let's talk about. Okay, so let's wait about the rumors.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a second. So thoughts on those first two matches that were announced for Forbidden Door?
As you always say, put that right in my veins, baby. Put that right in my veins. Now, I am interested to see Bryan and Okada. I'm scared I might have super high expectations for it. I'm going to just try to not to have that. I'm going to just try to just stay still and just watch it and take it in for what it is. But I know exactly what I'm getting out of Kenny and Will. I already know. Out the Billy Goat and Kenny.
You think it's going to be better than Wrestle Kingdom?
No.
I'm going to say it's going to have to.
But
if we look at Okada and Omega's matches, and yeah, it wasn't like, 5 was just so much better than 1, but they continue to layer on top of layer on top of layer each and every match. And I can't see this being any different. As great as that one is.
Is healthy now?
He should be. Or he will be, hopefully.
If he's healthier than what he was back in January, then sure, I could see that it being a better match. But again, what we saw was kind of magical at Wrestle Kingdom. So that's a very high bar, a very, very high bar. I'm okay if it doesn't hit that because how magical that match was. But this Bryan and Okada, I'm definitely interested. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat just to see how this plays out because this new Bryan is just amazing. His level of being not even just a bad guy, just like no bullshitting around. Like this is just what it is.
Intensity, no nonsense. Yep.
So
Yeah, I don't know about the match being better, but for me, I don't always worry about if it's going to be better or not. I know it's going to be good, right? And it's going to be another good match. We're going to have another awesome, first time ever, right? Bryan Danielson versus Okada, right? Yeah. So like we're going to get and that kudos to Tony Khan, finally selling us on 2 main events well before the show, like now. He got something to build off of, and now he has something we can sell. Like he could probably sell tickets on those 2 matches alone, right? So now we know exactly what we're gonna get from this show, and I think it's amazing. Now he can kind of build the rest of the card from these top 2 matches. It's gonna be a good time, and I'm actually that kind of really brightened my mood. I'm like, all right, maybe Tony Khan is finally gonna start moving these storylines and this promotion. Not promotion. I mean, more so promoting these pay-per-views the right way to get me really intrigued as a fan to want to watch these pay-per-views instead of selling me like an hour before the show to spend $50. Like right now, you already got my $50 off these 2 shows.
But we're still only 2 weeks out, though. We're still only 2 weeks out.
So it's 2 weeks from this upcoming Sunday.
Oh, damn! Is that quick?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not that much of a build. But granted, for Forbidden Door, you never really needed a build.
And that's the thing about it. Like, this is an all-star game.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
This show is an all-star game. And where last year we were like, man, what's up with the build? I would have to pull up the card. But I remember knowing the card is like, this is going to be a great show because we know it's going to be a great show because we know everybody can go. But some of these matches are kind of like, you don't need to build this. Like, those 2 matches, and that's why I think you feel that way, because you don't need to build it. Those matches on its own is like, you got me already. You don't even got to talk about it again on TV. I am going to be seated come June 25th for those matches.
I already got my card out right here. I already got it out right here.
So the 2 matches that came out today that are, one has been discussed. One was rumored until an injury. The rumored match would have been Mercedes versus Saraya. And as of right now, what is being discussed is CM Punk versus Kenta. I do have to call out the IWC real quick. I saw, and this just kind of hit a couple hours before we started podding. I saw a ton of hate about Mercedes versus Saraya. This person's right there. Man, we could have went Willow against Mercedes rematch. Whoever. Sheeta's there. Whoever, right? I see a lot of that. But then I saw a lot of positivity for CM Punk versus Kenta. I get the whole GTS versus GTS. That is a story. Yeah. E, to your point about build, you don't have to build that. You can just tell me it is the originator of the GTS versus the person who has made it popular in the United States. Cool. You got my money on that. But are we not going to act like there is not a built-in story with Mercedes and Saraya? She had to retire because of what Mercedes did to her in a match. Like, I get that, but I think it's not that. I don't think that IWC, or at least me, we're not looking at it from that lens. We're just looking at it for just the work rate of both wrestlers. That's how I think they are looking at it. Why would you put Saraya in a match with Mercedes when we know right now, at least when we've seen, I don't think Saraya can go against Mercedes in the ring. I don't think that built-in storyline, you just brought that back up, and now I do remember that, and now I'm like, wow, that does make sense. I would like to see how that plays out. I just think we looked at it purely off of, you would put her in the ring with her. They're not even on the same level to go at each other. We know at Forbidden Door, everybody got to be like on that elite level in wrestling. That's what I think. I don't know. Got it. Okay.
Here comes the super smart fans. They're back at it again. Woo, look at me. I'm so cool. Like, this man is trying to sell tickets and put on a elite show, not just for the super smart fans, but for the worldwide. Like, you don't think a Mercedes Monet versus Saraya is going to give you a couple extra buys? That's a big time match on any promotion. Any promotion would love to have that as a headliner. Not just AEW. Give Impact, NWA, anybody, any promotion would love to put those 2 women as a marquee match. That match alone will be the marquee on any other show. So they're trying to give you big matches. Now, will it deliver in the ring? It is going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Right? Like, it's going to be fine. Like, we can't sit here as Mark fans and say that Mercedes is a bad wrestler. If you think Mercedes is a bad wrestler, you're a hater. And Saraya is fine.
I don't think anybody's saying Mercedes is a bad wrestler. I think it was just more toward the energy.
No.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Oh man, wow. she's lost since she has not been Sasha Banks. Yeah. Oh my God, she's one of the worst wrestlers in the history of the business.
They've turned some folks.
Got
on her.
Yep. She can't wrestle. She's happy to be wrestling in front of 400 fans, and I mean it's all there. It's like wow. But yeah, I thought that would have been great. And CM Punk and Kenta, I think, would be cool too. I know Tony Khan came out and said that this show is going to be the biggest show either company has put on or something like that. So they must have some other things under their sleeve. So it sounds like we're all excited for Forbidden Door. Probably the biggest thing that came out of Dynamite this week was MJF and Adam Cole's promo segment. I cannot wait to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm gonna just throw it right to you. I put a Twitter poll out last night and said, who won it, quote unquote, who won the promo battle. Adam Cole won 76% to 24%, I believe it was. So he kind of ran away with it, saying that he won. What was your guys' thoughts about that promo segment?
Man, I loved every second of it. And when MJF was going in on the beginning on Adam, and then Adam went over to the corner like he normally does, kind of put his arms up on the turnbuckle in the ring ropes. I'm like, oh man, how's he gonna bounce back off of this? Just when I'm finally starting to love Adam Cole, even in NXT, I kind of wasn't a huge Adam Cole fan. Now I'm starting to fall in love with this character here. How he gonna rebound after this? When he came back and said, "Nah, you probably needed to go backstage and get tested." Dude, I was done. All the way done. He's like, the only reason you can get jacked is because you taking something. At that point, drop the mic. Adam Cole won because he had got his ass ripped apart. And not one moment did he look nervous, look scared, and he was not fazed by that. And to go, and just watching people going against people. We saw it with Roman and John Cena. You can get intimidated, get lost, get caught up, and then now you just looking like a dummy. No, Adam Cole was like, nope. All right, I'll take it all. Yep. Boom.
Man, no pun intended. I've always told you guys that I don't like a lot of this work shoot stuff. Like it really, I think it's unnecessary. It doesn't really hit the way they wanted to hit. But I thought this had some great elements into it. Like, cause like MJF was like he was tearing, like you said, Rhodesia, he was tearing Adam's ass up. And to be quite honest with you, I didn't think that Adam was going to be able to come back at him, to be honest.
At all.
Because you think about like, all right, like just rappers, right? Like there's really great, rappers make great songs, right? But not all of them are good battle rappers, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I didn't think that Adam Cole was a battle rapper. Now he got Karrion Kross's ass back in NXT, but that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah.
But I just didn't think that Adam would be able to come back at him. And I was like, dang, man, you can't. Like, Adam's is on his way up. You can't eat him up like that. Right? Not on national TV in this way, spitting facts, right? He was spitting facts. Capital FACT. I'm taking Matt's trash, but he was spitting facts, right? And so when Adam came back with that piss test line, I was like, oh, Adam, you surprised me. And he just kept going with it, right? And that's really all he needed to say, really. I think he said he had a couple other things that was interesting, but all he needed was that one line. Because, woo, I mean, it was a bomb drop. That was a legit mic drop. So that was a great back and forth, mixing. Well, not they weren't blurring reality. That was real, right? I hope they were okay with that before they went out there, because they didn't hold back. And kudos again, because guess what? I'm very, very, very interested in seeing this thing go, right? More promos. We know the match is going to be good, because that's one of the things I think Adam Cole is underrated, is he's really underrated in the ring. He's great. And so is MJF, right? He's proven it over and over again. So kudos to them on this one.
And Matt, real quick before you share your thoughts, I was a half a second disappointed, not even half a second, but when Adam Cole came out, because we knew somebody was about to come out and address MJF. I don't know who I thought it would have been, but I didn't necessarily think it was going to be Adam Cole. So then when he came out, I kind of also was a little bit taken back, like, uh-oh, like, is he going to be able to go against this, behemoth? And he did.
So I think that for me, that segment was everything that's right in AEW and everything that's wrong in AEW at the same time. So without going like too long, we all want to see Adam Cole versus MJF. Nobody who's watching wrestling should not want to see that. But we're getting it at a time where Adam Cole is not the hottest. That's where the things that go wrong with AEW shines its light. We know this was probably planned months in advance. Cool. I love having a plan. We don't want a hot shot every week. I get that. But this is the issue when we talk about, case in point, CM Punk. The report came out earlier this week. CM Punk has not helped move ticket sales outside of Chicago for Collision. They're still only at 700, 800 tickets sold for a show in Canada here in a few weeks. The one that cannibalized.
That's the total sales?
Yeah. But they cannibalized Canada because I think they run like 4 shows.
Yeah.
They got Forbidden Door. They have a Dynamite. They have Collision. You can only tap into a market so much before people are like, you're tapping me out. I can't afford to go anymore. I throw that one away. But what I think is a bigger issue is still the presentation of said wrestlers. AEW is not, CM Punk was not going to come in and save AEW because they don't have stars. No, they have a plethora of stars. We just know CM Punk comes with incredible stories. That's why a lot of us are excited to see CM Punk back. It's not because, he's the only star and he's going to be able to elevate everybody he's in the ring with. No, if you look at the poster they have for Collision and look at the names that are on that poster, you're like, man, that is stacked. When I watched Dynamite and I saw MJF and Adam Cole, to your point, work shoot. Yep, great lines. MJF basically taking Adam Cole's Karrion Kross promo from NXT. It's one of those, if you know, you know. Right? So I'm listening, I'm like, oh no, that's crazy. That's the Adam Cole promo he hit Karrion Kross with. And when the bell rings, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome. That's the stuff that we geek out over because we are the hardcore of the hardcore. But the issue is Adam Cole is just coming off of a feud with Chris Jericho that was not the best. And then you're putting him in a program immediately with MJF. And it's like, that's where we get into these issues where it's like, the matches are going to be great, but man, could we have done something to get Adam Cole hotter before we had this? Because Rhodesia, to your point, when his music hit, I was like, okay, cool. All right, this is going to be a good segment. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is what I wanted when Adam Cole returned, because he came back with that incredible face promo. You guys all remember when he was talking about his whole story about having the concussions and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, man, when him and MJF finally lock up, it's going to be crazy. But he's dropped a little bit in terms of momentum since then. Do something to heat him up before we get that.
But here's
I'm
the
not
thing,
so
though,
much
Matt.
against
like,
that.
Here's the thing, though, Matt. Like, you think that these things they've been doing for Adam Cole weren't designed to get him hot for this moment? You think they put him in a feud with Chris Jericho, their $3 million man, because they didn't think he's going to get over in that feud? Like, right? This obviously has been a plan. So now you get to the point to where, all right, this is our next thing. Do you at that point say, oh, you know what? We done messed up that feud with Chris Jericho. Let's pump the brakes on this MJF thing, right? No, like right, like this is a victim of circumstance, and I think that in that promo alone, like if you listen to reactions from that crowd, he had the crowd. I think this is he's the guy that when he's able to get in something that's good and not have to carry a feud with Chris Jericho, he's going to be able to. He's like they put like a buffet in front of this skinny brother, right? he's going to be fat. He's going to be fat, Adam Cole, after this thing. He's going to eat, right? He's going to eat. He's going to feast, because before they gave him, he went to Red Lobster and got the steak. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, he's in a feast right now. He's going to feast on this great material and this back and forth and great match. It's going to be good.
So we know we got the title
Adam
eliminator
going against him.
Say again?
I have nothing against Adam Cole going at MJF now. I mean, I see what you were saying when he first debuted, but they were trying to tell that pillar story. But at this point, I have no problem, because I think anybody else Adam Cole would have gone against would have decreased his value even more.
Yeah, put him in top spot.
I disagree, because I don't think you don't have to have feuds to get somebody hot. We just talked about LA Knight. He ain't been in the feud since January. He's hot as fish greets. There's ways to get people hot.
But I'm
just saying there's ways to get people hot.
Would do it?
You had last week to do it, when you had Jericho and Saraya in a meaningless tag match with Britt and Adam Cole. If you know you're doing MJF and Adam Cole the second week of June, right, or first week of June, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to build. Get your end game and build out. And I just feel like they had an opportunity there. It's the same thing with the Collision main event. They announced. I personally am very surprised CM Punk's wrestling on his first day. I personally would have kept CM Punk out of the ring night one. I would have said CM Punk is there. He's going to have a live mic and leave it at that. Right? I would not have had CM Punk wrestle. He is wrestling. We'll be in the building. Super excited for it. That's a great match. That's a match that any AEW fan is going to watch. They may not watch it live. We'll see what the ratings look like. Who knows? But for it to be CM Punk, FTR versus Samoa Joe, who was Juice Robinson and Jay White. That's a great main event. Imagine how big that match would be if Jay White was treated like the megastar that Ian, I think he is, or has the potential to be, since he debuted the first week of April. That's what I mean. Like, if you know, okay, this is what we're probably going to go with, even if you found that out 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know, was Jay White really elevated after the main event this past week on Dynamite against Ricky Starks?
No. Because to my recollection, didn't the Guns interfere?
And there you go. That's all I'm saying. It's stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not saying squash Ricky Starks, but something should have happened. And maybe it'll happen on Wednesday, but then that goes back to it's happening on Wednesday and the show is on Saturday. Build, make it feel like these are some of the biggest stars in your company for one of the biggest nights of the year. And it's just the name. We'll throw the name out there, and that's huge. Once again, that match is going to be great. We know that match is going to be hot fire. But I just look at, damn, there's so much meat on the bone when we see things like that. That's all.
I'm trying to keep it together over here. But Matt, what was the name that the guy?
Oh, you doing it again?
I am.
It is Bron Breakker
listen,
versus Seth Rollins.
No,
he was not drafted to Monday Night Raw.
No, stop. I got it. Stop. What was the name that the guy called the Elite, the Bullet Club, the Value Club?
Oh, he got him. Yeah. Was it? Let me see. I
think it's called the Value Club.
Great Value Bullet Club.
Not the Walmart Bullet Club. Oh no.
Oh no, man! Shout out to Dre for that.
Hey, but if you think about it though, if you're Tony Khan, like on paper, like that's a big marquee matchup with Adam Cole, Britt versus Saraya and Chris Jericho, right? Like that on paper, that should have been a good match. But we know the reality of the situation, like right. But I didn't see quarter ratings for that match, so we don't know how it did. But going back to Jay White, like you and I talked about it that he should have been in WWE. Like and what's happened in Jay White is what we thought would happen is that he's going to kind of blend in to what's already happening on this. Okay, his skill set, his look, and like he's too similar to what they already have. He's not like unique to AEW, and he's been there, right, before. I don't know if he's going to realize his potential as a superstar in AEW. Unfortunately, stupid Vince and the buyout cost them a megastar that could have united that promotion. But yeah, I don't know, man.
There was a report. You see the report that came out today. It wasn't a report. I guess it was like a statement that he's very chill about his creative.
Man, I saw that.
Him being Jay White is like, yeah, no shit. We can see. We can tell he's very chill about his creative. I'm just happy to be here, pal. That's the vibes that I got. Like, no, man, I need you to fight for yourself a little bit. But CM Punk has taken a liking to him, which is why he's in that match. And we know the match once again is gonna be great. But it's like, man, when I see like potential, it just bothers me. Where I'm like, this could be so much better if you just like, just change this and put this here for a moment just to see how that plays itself out.
Hey, no, look at this great value Bullet Club, like Jay White, Jay White, and his next guy in line is called Rock Hard, right?
Oh, God.
His name's Rock Hard. Like, right, I can't take that seriously.
Actually, I like Rock Hard. I like Rock Hard. When I first heard him say it 2 weeks ago, I was like, I kind of like that. I like that.
I bet you do like it.
Well, y'all some freaks, so of course you like that. So of course you like that.
I bet you do like it.
And now you got Rock Hard and the Ass Boys, right? The new great value Bullet Club. Like, that's just not fierce to me, right? Like, that group is like, I like the Ass Boys. I like Rock Hard. But I just can't take those boys seriously. Like, right? They can't. They're not. That's
it's
not
the Bullet Club
faction.
name. Like, say if they just came together, you'd be like, okay, this should be a fun faction. It's the Bullet Club name. Like, I'm personally over the Bullet Club. Like, all right, enough. That's one. That's one thing. But you think about Jay White. He can't be a superstar with those as his seconds, right? The Ass Boys and Rock Hard. The Rock Hard Ass Boys. Oh my God. Oh man. Orange Cassidy. I do want to talk about Orange Cassidy real quick. That guy is a
shocker,
really
surprise,
damn good. Yeah. The finish was what it was. It was a finish of, okay, it's not done yet. All right. Hopefully Swerve is still the one that takes the title off of him whenever that happens. But just watching him work, he has come so far from the I'm lazy wrestler gimmick. I have to shout out Orange Cassidy. The things he does in the ring are really understated and undervalued. Some of his selling that he does, some of his registering that he does, a lot of that was on full display on Dynamite this week against Swerve. Another really, really strong match between those two. But I just remember, of course, the hate Orange Cassidy got when he first showed up in AEW for people who didn't get the gimmick. And I get it. All right, yeah, it's a guy who, like, sometimes he tries, sometimes he doesn't. I get it's completely different. But now just seeing his run that he's been on this year, like, you got to give it up to him. He has been knocking it out the park each and every week.
Now, I know Swerve did it first, but do you take any kind of shade with him that how he won by pulling on the tights?
No.
Okay.
No, he really didn't pull on him. If I can remember,
did.
I thought Swerve did, right?
Yeah. Swerve did it first. Swerve did it first.
That's what
and
it
then
was.
He got out of it, and then he did it.
That's right, because he pulled with his one hand, right? Was that the way it finished? Because he was still selling his hand.
Yep.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of everything I had from like Dynamite. Anything else you guys want to give highlights to or crap on?
Hey, real quick with that match, I'm glad you brought it up. I was kind of disappointed that Swerve didn't win. But I couldn't hate on it because like I've been talking about it, like Orange has done such a great job with that championship. He's made that championship super relevant.
Yeah.
So far, the best champion. He's one of the. MJF's doing his thing. He's like I think the best champion that they have right now. He's made that.
Think about
that title right now is secure as like the second most important title in that company in my eyes. Like, right, it's not even close. And then I'm
and real quick, and why do you say that? What has happened with either that title or Orange Cassidy for you to feel like, hey, this is now the second most important belt on AEW?
Well, you think about how frequent that Orange Cassidy. I mean, he's almost defending that title almost weekly.
Was it 25 times? I think they announced he just since he's had it 25 times.
Right. Take that BS Casino Battle Royal out. But he's had, and this most of them have been great matchups, right? So great matches. He's been a permanent fixture on those shows, more so than I think any character, right? He's been on those shows consistent, and he's not just popping up on the show like just to wrestle his match. They've been putting him in multiple segments sometimes. So he's just been a great face for that company. He's been a great champion, and like I said, that title is definitely like the Intercontinental Championship level, like back in the day, right? Like to secure like a workman's title, great. Swerve looked great in the match. This is one spot, and those two guys have been doing. They give me like they're almost like the Lucha. No, I won't say Lucha Bros are worse. There's always a spot in their matches that really takes me out of the match. Do you know which one it was, Matt?
I'm sure I do.
Which one is it?
Are you talking about the what is that? You talking about the one outside of the ring, right?
Yeah, the DDT on the outside.
Yep.
DDT on the outside. Like that should have killed Swerve, right? But he gets him up, rolls it back in, and Swerve, he just kicks out like it's a regular move. And then even after the match, he seemed still be with it. No, this dude should have been all kinds of out of it. So like that was a little bit of a disconnect for me. Because up until that point, I would say it was a 5-star match. So that little moment kind of took me out of my suspension of disbelief just in that moment. And I hate when they do those matches. I just want them to stop with these DDTs or these hurricanranas from the outside of the ring inside the ring to the outside of the ring, landing on their head and rolling it back in and kicking out like nothing's happened. They got to stop that. But kudos to Swerve. I'm hoping that there is a championship run in his future. Kudos to Orange Cassidy doing a great job. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with, what if they had the TNT title exclusively on Collision?
I said that. I said that a couple weeks ago.
I thought they should be
I said, now let's have the TNT belts on TNT and the TBS belts on TBS.
Yes.
They have an opportunity. They have an opportunity to do so many cool things with these two shows. They still haven't talked about who's going to be on what show and if there's any reason why or anything like that. You don't even have to give me a reason. Let's just be smart about how we split them up. To that point, let's move the championships, and like they can really do some awesome things. And let's get to telling stories. And the reason why I asked you, E, about why Orange Cassidy you felt like that was the number 2 belt. You said it, but it's TV time. He's wrestled like 25 times this year so far. Winning does matter. Putting winning streaks matter in wrestling to get somebody hot. And those are the things, right? So when we don't see Wardlow for weeks at a time, or you don't see Keith Lee for months at a time, it feels like on your major shows, that takes momentum away. But now having 2 shows, that should help. That really, really should help. But yes, I do want to shout out just their chemistry is off the charts between Swerve and Orange Cassidy. That's one of those, give me like a best of 5. I would be there for it every single week. Or did you got anything from Dynamite?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let me make sure.
That's it.
I think that was all I had. Let me make sure. Oh, just kind of random, but it irritates me, and it was on maybe on SmackDown or Raw. The one more time chants from the crowd is starting to get up there with the what chant for me.
Bronson.
Yes, Bronson Reed, who is a heel, is getting one more time chants from the crowd, beating up 2 baby faces.
Yep. I hate that.
I hate the chant, but then when I hear it, that just tells me like you're not bought into the story or the characters. You just want to see violence.
Oh, kind of like at WrestleMania when you guys are throwing up the ones when the babyface loses.
We almost made it through one episode. We almost made it through one episode without you crying about Cody losing.
Still bitching and moaning. That's how you know it works. Still bitching and moaning.
We almost made it through
I love it.
Almost at an hour and 40 minutes. We almost made it through it.
No, I'm just mentioning these guys can't say one more time, but you guys are throwing up the ones. That's all. I'm just saying.
No, because we actually enjoy the the most popular and best and biggest superstar in the modern era. Sorry for being Roman Reigns fans.
He's a heel.
Bad.
He's a heel.
My bad.
Like he's a heel.
You just went on about how much you like Swerve. Swerve's a heel.
Yes, he is.
Well, he's also like me. He's also me, and I like me too. So
Lord have mercy.
That ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I don't even know what that means. I'm gonna skip right past that. It seems like every week this show goes off the rails right at the end. And it went off the rails again. TFW,
that's the best time to do it, though. You should be going off the rails in the beginning of the show.
Moment of the week. Eshaun brought it up earlier. He didn't like it. I'm enjoying it and enjoyed it. And my TFW moment of the week is actually the start of the dissension in the Judgment Day. They have been around for a year. I think they have done fantastic since the switch of Finn with the Judgment Day. Of course, they've been around longer than that with Edge, but as constructed, they've been around for a year without Dom. Keep Rhea and Dom together. They are money together. But I am more than okay with some dissension in the Judgment Day. I think that Damian has kind of peaked in the Judgment Day where he's at right now. And I think if we can get a him and Finn feud and maybe Damian goes face, I don't know what that looks like. I'm sure we'll get Seth and Finn at Money in the Bank. They kind of tease that toward the end of the show. But if we can get some dissension between Damian and Finn and that elevates Damian, I'm all for it because he deserves it. So that was my TFW moment of the week was the dissension that they teased on Raw in the Judgment Day.
Good one. I was a little bit scared that you was taking mine, but I thought about what I was about to say so off the rail that you would not have said that. This is a funny one. He is no stranger to my TFW moment of the week, and it's Dominic Mysterio. There was a TikTok going out after his altercation with Cody Rhodes in the ring on Raw, and he comes behind Gorilla, and he goes, "Whoa, I slapped Cody Rhodes." That to me, I'm like, he's so the most unserious-able person in wrestling right now. So from that alone, and it was like, I think 4 seconds long, I'm like, thank you so much, John, for making me laugh again.
Jeez. Staying with Cody Rhodes, my moment of the week was seeing the crowd singing that man's song. I love to see my favorite wrestler doing this thing, and great wrestling fans all around the world, not these cynical wrestling fans that throw up ones and chant for the heels to win matches and they complain.
2.9 million
I love it.
Viewers agree with us. Bloodline, baby. We're gonna still represent. We ain't gonna turn our backs just because some people in the Bloodline turn their backs on it. No, we're gonna stay here until the end of time. You got that right, man. I'm gonna be here for you, Roman. Don't you worry about it. I will still represent until the day where, speaking of, y'all real quick, did you see that allegedly the plan is to, after all this, turn him super babyface? I thought that's kind of surprising, and I just hope that they do it right. Because if not, it could be bad.
Oh, gosh.
Yep. So we'll see. All right, we will see. All right, guys, that is everything. We already did the plugs at the beginning of the podcast, so I don't have anything to plug. You guys got anything you guys want to plug before we get out of here?
Spring cleaning this weekend. That's about it. I must be old. Why would I just say that? You know what? Never mind.
Cleaning.
We should cut. Let's cut that out. Cut. Take it out.
You've been on one this whole episode.
Take it out.
You've been on this entire episode. Eshaun, you got anything you want to plug, man?
Just want to echo your thoughts from earlier. Hey, thank you for all the support we get from new friends, family of the podcast. I mean, I get DMs and shouts out all the time about little tidbits from the show that I'm like, oh man, people are really listening or watching the show, and it's really cool that you guys hit us up and talk to us about the show. So thank you for the support. Continue to spread the love. We appreciate you very much.
There it is, guys. As he said, thank you guys. We appreciate it. We'll be back again next week. Episode 41, right? Will be next week. Is it 41?
41.
It is. Episode 41 will be next week. We'll see you then.